Mandela effects that upset me the most. This timeline really did the Monopoly man dirty because they took away his monocle. I'd give anything for a box of Cheez-Its, but since they don't exist, I'll settle for the real deal, which is a box of Cheez-It. Smokey the Bear wants to keep the world from burning down. Wrong, his name's actually Smokey Bear. Luke, I am your father. Wrong. It's no, I am your father. I love Febreze as much as the next gal, but if you want to be in this timeline, you have to take out one of the E's. I know what a cornucopia is because when I was younger, I was shopping with my mom at JCPenney and I asked her what was on the Fruit of the Loom logo and she said it was a cornucopia, and I'm so grateful for my incredible imagination for making up the cornucopia that has never existed in the Fruit of the Loom logo. I've always loved the Laughing Cow's nose ring until I found out it doesn't exist. Another style I truly admired was that of the Raisin Bran sun, especially the sunglasses, which I apparently made up. I love Jiffy peanut butter, even though the company is trying to gaslight me into believing that it's always been called Jif. Iconic, iconic, iconic. Too bad the microphone was never a part of the iconic-y. Loved when Curious George would swing around from his tail, except for that he never had one. That's okay, because Mickey Mouse has had a tail all along. What he never had, however, was suspenders, which is odd since I have memories of him snapping them while driving the boat.
The King Tut Mandela Effect has just been solved! By me! In the King Tut Mandela Effect, when I was younger, his sarcophagus only had a snake coming out of his head. Now it's a snake and a bird. Yeah, I guess it's not just a snake, it's a snake and a bird. But not so fast, my friends. Because me, Joe, with the giant cheese head, found something that blows this thing out of the water. Watch this and decide for yourself, Booshkies.
On display in Los Angeles, artifacts from the tomb of King Tut.
Did you all see that? Let's take a closer look. This is from the early 80s, a representation of King Tut's sarcophagus, and it's only got a snake on its head. Where's the bird? Because this thing shows a bird next to the snake on its head. In my universe, there was just a snake. Proof that the King Tut Mandela Effect is real, Booshkies. In your reality, did that sarcophagus just have a snake or a snake and a bird? Let me know in the comments section. Shabadoo!
Somebody actually took a picture apparently and put it on Facebook of Fruit of the Loom having a cornucopia. So here it is.
Someone took this picture and I saw it on Facebook. I knew it. I knew there was a cornucopia on Fruit of the Looms, because why else would I know the word cornucopia? Like Thanksgiving, maybe, but no, I remember this vividly. And Fruit of the Looms is like, no, it was never there. It was just a fruit. Y'all remember this too, right? Like, I'm not just bugging.
Well, what you guys need to do is take this video you're watching here, make it go viral, and tag Fruit of the Loom. And when you tag them in the comment next to your tag, say, what do you say, Fruit of the Loom? Because if this is real, Fruit of the Loom's going to have to answer.
Yeah, because they're denying it ever having a cornucopia. It's not like this is a new thing that we're doing now. They're actually denying they ever had a cornucopia.
I guess they could just say that somebody printed that on there.
It looks pretty old and legitimate, and that picture is what I've always known Fruit of the Loom to have. So
yeah, so like I said, tag them, Fruit of the Loom, and ask them, what is this?
Okay, you guys, I need a little bit of help once again, because the Mandela Effect is just sprinkling crazy shit all over the place. There's some new ones I just learned about, and my mind is just kind of like, you remember that little bottle of whiteout that we had to use when we used to type on an actual typewriter, and then you had to like paint over your mistake and type over the shit again? Whiteout, spelled W-H-I-T-E. Now they claim it's spelled W-I-T-E. And Ready Whip. Go check your refrigerator, see if you have a can of that shit in there, because Ready Whip, you know, like whip, like you're gonna whip some shit. W-H-I-P. They took the H out of that too. It's just W-I-P. We didn't take letters out of words back in the 70s and 80s. That's some pretty new age shit. We just abbreviate everything. Oh, and the best one of all that really blew my mind, Star Trek. I hated Star Trek. I still don't like Star Trek, but my brother loved it and made me watch that shit on the TV all the time. They're trying to say that saying, beam me up, Scotty, never existed. Really? Like, we've all been saying, beam me up, Scotty, for 45 years, and we just made the shit up? Silence of the Lambs. When Hannibal Lecter says, hello, Clarice, he didn't say that shit either, supposedly. Oh, he was supposed to have said, good morning, Clarice. I have been saying, hello, Clarice, forever. Make this shit make sense.
Let's revisit some of our favorite Disney Mandela effects. First one is pertaining to the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland. There's a very famous line that this cat says, Many people remember it as, "We're all mad here." But the real line in the current reality that we're living in is, "Most everyone is mad here." So do you remember "most everyone is mad here" or "we're all mad here"? Because the line "we're all mad here" has never been said in the movie. The next one is from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. We all know the Hi Ho song, but do we really? Many people remember the line from the song, "Hi ho, it's off to work we go." But what if I told you that in the current reality that we're living in, that was never said? The line in our current reality is, "Hi ho, it's home from work we go." They never ever said, "It's off to work we go" in the current reality that we're living in. The next one I have for you is about the intro during a lot of the movies, you know, where it's playing like the theme music and they're showing like this little logo up here. A lot of people remember Tinkerbell kind of flying by and using her little magic to dot the I in Disney. Well, it turns out that in our current reality, that never happened. You never see Tinkerbell in the intro. So if you remember seeing Tinkerbell, you're not from this reality. Up next, we have Cruella de Vil. How do you remember her name being spelled? Do you remember it being spelled DeVille or DeVille? Turns out there's never been an E at the end in our current reality, so if you remember an E, then you probably jumped out of the same parallel reality that I did. Okay, for Mickey Mouse, there's actually two. The first one being, do you remember Mickey Mouse having suspenders or no suspenders? Turns out in our current reality, Mickey Mouse has never worn suspenders. So if you remember suspenders, you're not from here. And the other one is about Mickey Mouse having a tail or not. So do you remember Mickey Mouse having a tail or do you remember Mickey Mouse having no tail? A lot of people say that they remember Mickey Mouse having no tail, but in the current reality that we're living in, Mickey Mouse has always had a tail, even back to the Steamboat Willie days. This is a favorite for me. So there's a very famous line in Snow White. It goes, "Blank mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" Do you remember it as "mirror, mirror on the wall" or "magic mirror on the wall"? Most people remember it as "mirror, mirror on the wall," but that line was never said in the movie. It's always been "magic mirror" in the current reality that we're living in. Next up, we have the name of this iconic castle that lives at Disney World. Do you remember it as Cinderella Castle or Cinderella's Castle? Turns out in our current reality, it's always just been Cinderella Castle, because this castle is not the castle from the movie Cinderella. So it's not Cinderella's castle, it's just a castle built in honor of Cinderella. So there's no apostrophe S. And while we're on the topic of Cinderella, our next one is, do you remember being able to see Cinderella's ears like in this photo? Or do you remember not being able to see Cinderella's ears, having them be kind of like covered? It turns out in our current reality, we have never been able to see Cinderella's ears. So this one is completely wrong, and this is the one that it's always been. So if you remember being able to see Cinderella's ears, I'm sorry, but you probably jumped out of the same parallel reality that I did. In the Jungle Book, there's a really iconic scene where Baloo kind of dresses up like kind of feminine and has a coconut bra and a coconut mask. But what if I told you that actually never happened in our current reality? It was never a thing. It was always this. He always had just the mask, but he never wore a coconut bra in the current reality that we're living in. Back to Alice in Wonderland, we have Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Do you remember them having flags coming out of their hat or propellers? Most people I talk to, including myself, remember Tweedledee and Tweedledum having propellers coming out of their hats. Turns out in the current reality that we're living in, it's always been flags. And lastly, we have the Sword and the Stone. It seems like it should be called the Sword and the Stone for a reason, right? Because the sword is in the stone. So to me, I remember the sword being in a stone. But it turns out that in the current reality that we're living in, the sword has always been in an anvil. So if you remember the stone and you don't remember the anvil, you probably jumped out of the same parallel reality that I did. So tell me, how many of these did you get right and how many did you get wrong?